Hello, football fans, UFL fans. Well, week 1 is in the books, and thank God we finally got our football fix in. That was 6 or 7 weeks of no football was pretty torturous for me. And it just goes to show you how much I love football compared to the other sports, even though I do love the other sports. I was still detained by my Rangers, the Sweet 16 Elite 8 this weekend, as well as the opening day of baseball, but I'm sorry, there's nothing like football. And let's get to it. Game 1. Champion versus champion. I've been calling this like the equivalent to the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan match in WrestleMania many years ago. I think it was 1989. The Stallions proved to be too much for the Renegades. They win 27-24. This game took a turnaround towards the end of the half when Matt Corral threw that last-second touchdown pass at the end of the half, and that was it. Pretty much the Stallions took control and dominated the game the rest of the time. Matt Corral did not look too good in the first half, whereas Luis Perez was kind of his usual even keel, solid self. But a lot of these, let's look at the stats right now. The Stallions had 5 more minutes in time of possession. They had about 16 more total plays on offense. They had about 150 yards more in total offense. They were 2 for 3 in red zone attempts, whereas the Renegades were 0 for 2. Passing even. Rushing, the Stallions dominated, and that was the big thing in this game. Arlington could not stop the Stallions running game. And the turnovers were pretty much even 2-2. But the Stallions look like the champions we've known the last 2 years. And the Renegades, to me, nothing against you Renegades fan. I know you say you're just a bitter Defenders fans, but the Renegades look like the team we saw last year for the first 10 weeks of the season. And they just happened to get hot in the 2 weeks of the playoffs. It happens. What are you going to do? But overall, this was a pretty good game. I was satisfied with it. The attendance was 14,500, which is over 2,000 more than what they were averaging last year. The Renegades fans were pretty consistent last year. They averaged 12,000 fans, all 5 home games. So 2 more thousand this time. It helps when you have champion versus champion. And coming home with a championship makes a big difference. But pretty good game. Now, the second game that day was even better. We had the Battle Hawks and the Panthers. By the way, I got the first game right. I had Birmingham win that game 26-13. They ended up winning 27-14. Close enough. But I got this game wrong. I had the Battle Hawks winning something like 23-13. And the Panthers come out on top 18-16. Of course, the biggest play, one of the 2 biggest plays of the weekend, the entire weekend, was the 64-yard field goal by Jake Bates, a man who has never attempted a field goal, I think they said since high school, or a game-winning field goal since high school. He's been a kickoff specialist, and they actually froze him. He kicked the first one, and he nailed the second one as well. What a game this was. This was a defensive matchup. I didn't give Michigan much of a chance because they really had no offense, but I said the only way they had a chance of winning this game was if they dominated a run, and that's how they won. They pretty much dominated a run. And St. Louis had about 7 more minutes of time possession over the Panthers. The Battlehawks also had 13 more plays on offense. Total yards, 280 and 261 in favor of Michigan. So going by that, you can say Michigan was definitely more efficient with having 13 less plays. Red zone touchdowns were even. Passing was just about even, 199-168 in favor of Michigan. Rushing, this is where it made a difference. 112 to 62 in favor of Michigan. And Michigan had 2 turnovers. I wasn't really that impressed with E.J. Perry. I mean, he did what he had to do. A.J. McCarron, I expect nothing but good things out of A.J. McCarron this year like we did last year. He's going to be hopefully a staple in the league for many years to come. But the Panthers win this one at home, 18-16. Now, yesterday, my beloved defenders were facing San Antonio. They're picking up where they left off last year. If you remember, these two teams played Week 10 at San Antonio last year, and last year DC dodged a bullet. Romo missed his only field goal for the year, and DC ended up winning this game. Yesterday, the Brahmas looked like a total different team under Wade Phillips. They win this one 27-12. Two of the biggest plays of that game was we thought the defenders had cut the lead to 2018 when they got called for the full start on number 59, and he got thrown out of game for spitting on the player, which cost him 15 more yards. And then on that same possession, the pick 6 by Jordan Ta'amu was the game changer of the game. And of course, the other big play that weekend was the fake punt by the Brahmas. What a play that was. So both your 2 biggest plays of the weekend were both special teams. The traditional kickoff looked good, but you got to wonder, will they go back to the XFL kickoff next year, since that's what the NFL's doing this year? Who knew? Anyway, stats real quickly. DC had 5 more minutes of possession. They both had 10 offensive drives. DC had 11 more plays. Total yards, though, San Antonio was more efficient, 270 to 253, so this was a defensive game all the way. Big differences. The Brahmas scored touchdowns. They were 2 for 2 in red zone attempts. DC was 0 for 3. And had to set up for 3 field goals, 4 for the entire game. And let's face it, the reality of losing Abram Smith, Lucky Jackson, Hammond, and Chris Blair are there. Now, if you're a DC fan, we just gotta execute better. That's it. I mean, I think the talent's still there. I think DC's gonna still have a good team. We're not gonna have the team last year because we just lost too many good players in key spots. It is what it is. Rushing, again, the loss of Abram Smith hurt. San Antonio had us 75-44. Turnovers were even at 1, but the one that San Antonio got was devastating to DC. So Brahmas win this one 27-12. The attendance of this game was just over 13,000, and consider this is 11 a.m. on an Easter morning. That is, I think that's pretty good. Now, had this been back in February, I would have been disappointed, but Easter weekend, not a bad deal. So, the first 2 games, in the Panthers Battlehawks game, there's just about 9,500 people there. Of course, that was the Elite 8. And by the way, the Elite 8 in Sweet 16 was also in Detroit. So, they had some tough competition. And the Elite 8 was also in the Dallas area, but the Renegades still managed to draw over 2,000 people. Not a bad deal either. Now, the final game of the weekend, the Showboats and the Roughnecks. And by the way, I thought the defenders would win that game pretty big. I was wrong on that one. I was right in this one. I thought the Showboats would win. I thought they would dominate them. They didn't. They ended up winning 18-12. This game, to me, was not as close as the score indicated. It was a end of the game turnover, which led to 6 points for the Roughnecks. And that's why it looked as close as they did. But time of possession was almost double, 40-20 in favor of Memphis. Total plays, 62-37 in favor of Memphis. Total yards, though, only 228 to 174. So this was a defensive battle. And we knew the defenses are going to be ahead this time of year. It's just the way it is. Passing yards, Matt Cookins did what he had to do yesterday. He looked pretty good. 194 to 131 in favor of Houston. Rushing, it was about even 43 to 34. Turnovers, 3-2 in favor of Houston, but the difference is Memphis capitalized on theirs, and Houston just had the one at the end there, made this game look closer than it really was. This was not a real fun game to watch. This is a little bit on the tough side. I thought this would be the biggest boring. I thought this would be the most boring game of the weekend. I also thought it would be the biggest blowout. It wasn't, but not exactly fun to watch either. The other three games, though, I thought Arlington and Birmingham gave us a good show for the first three quarters. The second game, the Panthers and Battlehawks was the game of the weekend in my opinion. And you had the new look Wade Phillips Brahmas that looked pretty good. So there is your week 1 highlights in a nutshell. Week 2 is coming up. Before you know, we'll talk about week 2 later on. So what do you think about the games this weekend? Let me know. Considering what they had to do, rushing through things, having to go through the first rejection by the government on the merger, and having to do it the second time, you had to be pretty satisfied with the week 1 action. Now, was this like XFL 2020? No, they had more time, and they didn't have the pressure of the merger. Same thing with part 1 of the reboot USFL. They had plenty of time. This was a little bit different. They had to do a lot of things, but overall, you had to be satisfied. Anyway, fans, let me know what you think. The USFL owns the bragging rights for now. They won. They're 2-0. And we'll see what happens next week. So, fans, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe to this channel. And we'll talk to you.